Welcome back to Strategic Recovery, the podcast where we blend strategy, spirit, and science to help you break free from addiction and awaken the version of yourself you are always meant to become. In our last episode, we entered the brain, the inner control center, and explored the power of neuroplasticity to rewire old patterns and create a new emotional and behavioral normal. But today, we go deeper because recovery isn't just about what you do. It's about who you are while you're doing it. So let me ask you, who are you as a healer? Because the truth is, the way you heal is different from the way someone else heals. Your nervous system is unique. Your history is unique. Your purpose is unique. That's why a one-size-fits-all recovery approach doesn't work for most people. That's why you may have tried things that worked for others but didn't land for you. It's not because you're broken. It's because you're different by design. Today's episode is about understanding that design. We're diving in to the 4 archetypes of addiction recovery, a powerful tool for uncovering your healing personality and discovering how to work with yourself instead of against yourself. Are you the seeker, drawn to wisdom, transformation, and spiritual awakening? The empath, emotionally attuned, deeply caring, sensitive to energy? Or the achiever, driven, focused, and always chasing the next level? The thinker, introspective, curious, and wired for deep understanding. Each archetype has strengths that accelerate healing. Each has blind spots that can create setbacks. And when you understand who you are at your core, you unlock a recovery path that feels natural, energizing, and true. This isn't just personality typing. It's a map of your inner terrain. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle. In this episode, you'll discover which of the 4 archetypes most closely matches your healing style, the exact tools and environments that nourish your nervous system, what throws each archetype off course, and how to stay grounded. How to build a recovery path that's both effective and aligned, because when you stop trying to heal like someone else, you finally start to come home to yourself. This is Strategic Recovery, and today you meet the healer within. Let's begin. What are archetypes? Before we explore the 4 archetypes of addiction recovery, let's take a moment to understand what an archetype actually is and why it might be the missing piece you've been searching for in your healing journey. Archetypes are universal patterns of personality and energy. They're not surface-level traits. They're deep structures, psychological blueprints that live beneath the roles we play and the labels we're given. Every culture, every spiritual system, and every mythology is filled with them. From Greek myths to ancient Hindu texts, from shamanic traditions to Hollywood scripts, we see the same core energies appear over and over again. The hero, the mystic, the lover, the outcast, the healer, the magician, the warrior. Archetypes are the eternal images imprinted in the soul. They are inherited potentials which are actualized when they enter consciousness. Carl Jung. According to Jung, archetypes live in the collective unconscious, a vast ocean of inherited symbols and inner forces that shape the human experience, whether we're aware of them or not. But you don't need a psychology degree to feel their power. You already know them. You've seen them in yourself. You've seen them in others. You've played their roles, sometimes consciously, sometimes blindly. Here's the magic. When you learn to recognize your primary archetype, it's like turning on a light in a room you've always lived in but never fully seen. Suddenly, you understand why certain behaviors feel natural to you. You realize why some recovery strategies felt off, or even painful. You see the invisible pattern that's been shaping your choices, your relationships, and your internal battles. This is not about putting yourself in a box. It's about discovering the box you've been in so you can finally step out. In recovery, knowing your archetype changes the game. It gives you something that most people never get: clarity about your healing style, compassion for your setbacks, and a strategic path forward based on your design, not someone else's. Because, let's be honest, trying to force yourself into a path that doesn't fit you is exhausting. Trying to copy what worked for your sponsor, your friend, or your therapist when your nervous system is wired completely differently leads to guilt, burnout, and collapse. But when you know your archetype, suddenly you're not too emotional. You're an empath with a gift for connection. You're not too intense. You're a seeker born to dive deep. You're not too driven. You're an achiever built for progress. You're not too analytical. You're a thinker, here to bring wisdom to chaos. This insight is a mirror, and that mirror shows you not what's wrong with you, but what's true about you. Until you know yourself, everything you build is on borrowed ground, unknown. And when you finally start building on your own ground, that's when recovery becomes real. That's when healing becomes personalized, energizing, and sustainable. Archetypes aren't trends. They're timeless tools of transformation. And in strategic recovery, we use them to unlock the hidden map inside you. Let's explore that map and meet the 4 archetypes that could change your life. The 4 archetypes of strategic recovery. This next part of the journey didn't come from a textbook. It came from the trenches, from years of coaching, counseling, and walking alongside people as they battled through addiction, identity collapse, and transformation. I began to notice something: patterns, not just in behavior, but in essence. People weren't all struggling the same way. They weren't motivated by the same things. They didn't relapse for the same reasons. They didn't heal through the same doors. Some needed structure. Some needed freedom. Some needed connection. Some needed understanding. Some people needed to talk it out. Others needed to feel it out. Others needed to analyze it, spiritualize it, or simply move through it. And the more I paid attention, the more I realized I wasn't looking at random differences. I was witnessing archetypes in motion. Every person is a story the soul tells through a specific pattern. Michael Meade. These patterns eventually crystallized into 4 distinct archetypes, each one carrying its own core strengths, sensitivities, shadow tendencies, and recovery style. They became the backbone of how I guide people, not as a fixed identity, but as a map of tendencies, a compass to help people navigate their healing with more clarity, more compassion, and more alignment. These aren't labels, they're invitations. Each archetype offers insight into how you move through the world and how you move through healing. Each one carries sacred medicine. These are the 4 archetypes of strategic recovery, and they just might change how you see yourself forever. Let's meet them. Archetype number 1, the seeker. I know there's more than this. If you're a seeker, you've felt it your whole life. That quiet ache, that sense that something's missing, that the world as it is isn't the full story. You crave meaning, depth, and truth. You're drawn to the mystical, the philosophical, the ancient, the divine. You ask questions others are afraid to ask. You long for experiences that are real, sacred, and soulful. But in a world that often feels shallow, chaotic, or disconnected, that hunger can be painful. Addiction may have once felt like an answer, a shortcut to transcendence, a way to escape the ache of separation, or mimic the feeling of being whole. The soul always knows what to do to heal itself. The challenge is to silence the mind. Caroline Myss. Seekers often find themselves chasing peak experiences, spiritual highs, creative bursts, deep conversations, altered states, anything that feels like it touches the divine. But without structure, that seeking can turn into wandering, or worse, into spiritual bypassing. Seeker strengths: profound intuition, a natural connection to the spiritual dimension, a gift for big picture thinking, deep capacity for insight, transformation, and awakening. Seeker shadows: escaping reality through spiritual ideals or altered states, resisting routine or structure, getting lost in the metaphysical while neglecting the physical, confusing intensity for transformation. Your healing path: grounded spirituality. If you're a seeker, your healing must be sacred, but also embodied. You need to feel connected to something bigger than yourself, but also grounded in the here and now. You thrive with daily spiritual practices that are simple and repeatable: prayer, meditation, journaling. Teachers or mentors who help you stay rooted and accountable. Environments that allow for silence, reflection, beauty, and awe. Structure that supports your inner journey without stifling your soul. Seeker, your path is to bridge the infinite and the immediate, to bring heaven to earth, not escape to it. To remember that your longing is not a flaw. It's your compass. It's pointing you toward home. You were never addicted to the substance. You were addicted to escaping a world that had no room for your soul. Archetype number 2, the empath. I feel everything. If you're an empath, you move through life like an emotional tuning fork. You walk into a room and immediately sense the energy. You hear someone's story and feel it in your bones. You're absorbed in the pain of others so deeply, you sometimes forget where you end and they begin. You feel the heartbreak of the world and the unspoken tension of a moment. You've likely been told you're too sensitive, but sensitivity is not your weakness, it's your superpower. The highly sensitive are the soul's radar. They feel the storm before it breaks. Matt Finch. But when that radar never shuts off, it becomes overwhelm, and that overwhelm often leads to seeking relief. Many empaths turn to substances, not for pleasure, but for quiet, for numbness, for a break from feeling everything all the time. Others fall into cycles of codependency, caretaking, or emotional exhaustion, not because they're weak, but because they've been taught that their worth is tied to how much they give. Empath strengths: deep compassion and the ability to hold space for others. Emotional intelligence and intuitive perception. Natural healer, listener, and connector. Powerful access to empathy, love, and heart-centered wisdom. Empath shadows: absorbing other people's emotions and trauma as your own. Weak or porous boundaries. Chronic people-pleasing and self-abandonment. Emotional exhaustion and burnout. Your healing path: boundaries and self-belonging. If you are an empath, recovery must include radical self-care. Not bubble baths and daydreams, but energetic hygiene and emotional sovereignty. You must learn to say no without guilt, to feel without absorbing, to help without losing yourself in the process. You thrive with daily grounding practices, breathwork, walking, somatic release, clear boundaries in relationships and environments, therapy or coaching that helps you separate your pain from others, safe containers to express your own emotions without being the strong one. Empath, you've carried others for so long, but now it's time to carry yourself, not just for survival, but for expansion. You don't have to feel everything to be loving. You just have to feel yourself and love yourself enough to protect your energy. Your sensitivity is not a curse, it's your compass. And when you learn to protect your sensitivity, you become a powerful force for healing, starting with yourself. Archetype number 3, the achiever. If I'm not winning, I'm not enough. If you're an achiever, you've been getting things done your whole life. You set goals, you hit deadlines, you get results. And on the outside, people may have looked up to you, admired your discipline, your focus, your drive. You may have even looked like the last person who would ever struggle with addiction. But inside, the story was different. Because for many achievers, the real addiction wasn't just to a substance. It was to achievement itself, to success, to perfection, to forward motion, to never feeling like you could stop or rest or simply be without earning it. You are not a machine, you are a being. Brené Brown. Substances often enter the achiever's life as a way to manage pressure, to stay productive, to self-medicate anxiety, to take the edge off perfectionism, or to escape the crushing feeling that you're never doing enough. Achiever strengths: clear vision and goal-setting ability, strong work ethic, structure and momentum, high competence and resourcefulness, natural leader and self-starter. Achiever shadows: self-worth tied to productivity or external success, difficulty slowing down, resting, or feeling emotions, chronic pressure, anxiety, or burnout, fear of failure, loss of control, or being perceived as weak. Your healing path: productive surrender. If you're an achiever, your healing doesn't have to feel passive or vague. You actually thrive when recovery has structure, milestones, and forward movement. But here's the deeper truth. Your next level isn't about doing more. It's about learning to be without proving, performing, or perfecting. You need a recovery strategy that honors your love of growth, but includes rest and surrender, offers structure, but doesn't become another hustle trap, invites emotional work without judging your drive, helps you feel worthy and whole even when you're not crushing it. Achiever, the lesson for you is that you are enough, even when you're not achieving. You don't have to earn your right to heal. You don't have to conquer recovery like a checklist. You are worthy of love and healing, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. When you bring your drive into your healing and allow it to be guided by soul, not shame, you become unstoppable in the right direction. And archetype 4, the thinker. If I can just understand it, I can fix it. If you're a thinker, you're deeply curious. You've probably been asking why your whole life. Why do people suffer? Why did I end up here? Why can't I stop? You love learning. You thrive on logic, systems, and frameworks. You're probably someone who's read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, studied the science, and researched recovery like your life depended on it. Because at one point, it probably did. Your mind is sharp. Your insight is profound. And your ability to map out complex ideas makes you a powerful strategist in life and in healing. But that brilliance comes with a cost. When life gets painful, you go up into the mind. You analyze, dissect, and problem solve when what you really need is to feel. The longest journey you will ever take is from your head to your heart. Sioux proverb. Thinkers often struggle with intellectualizing emotions, trying to explain them instead of experiencing them, trying to reframe instead of release, trying to solve what was never meant to be solved, only witnessed. And sometimes substances become the only way to turn down the noise, to give the overactive mind a moment of quiet. Thinker strengths: deep introspection and self-awareness, logical reasoning and strategic planning, strong grasp of systems, data, and cause and effect, high capacity for understanding recovery models and applying them. Thinker shadows. Paralysis by analysis. Overthinking instead of acting. Emotional detachment or suppression. Chronic doubt or skepticism. Disconnection from the body and the present moment. Your healing path. Embodiment and emotional risk. If you're a thinker, your challenge is not to abandon your mind, but to reunite it with your body and heart. Your next evolution doesn't come from another book. It comes from integration, from breath, from movement, from presence, from emotional risk. You heal when you get out of your head and into your body through breathwork, somatic therapy, yoga, etc. Practice expressing feelings instead of explaining them. Take messy, imperfect emotional risks like asking for help, crying, or sitting with discomfort. Build recovery not just as an idea, but as a felt experience. Thinker, you've already mapped the terrain. Now it's time to walk it. You don't need more knowledge, you need more embodiment. You don't need to figure it out, you need to feel it through. Your mind is a gift, but your healing lives deeper than thought. It lives in the nervous system, in the heart, in the breath, in the now. Why archetypes matter. So, why does this all matter? Why spend time uncovering your archetype when you're just trying to get through the day? Because when you know your archetype, you stop trying to heal like someone else. You stop judging yourself for doing it wrong. You stop squeezing your soul into boxes that were never built for you. You stop following generic blueprints that leave you feeling more broken, more frustrated, and more disconnected. Archetypes set you free. They show you that your greatest challenges are often the flip side of your greatest gifts. The seeker's spiritual longing is also the source of their inner wisdom. The empath's emotional sensitivity is also the root of their compassion. The achiever's relentless drive is also their path to transformation. The thinker's powerful mind is also their gateway to insight and integration. When you understand your archetype, everything begins to click. You stop forcing yourself to fit someone else's version of recovery. You begin to customize your own healing strategy in alignment with who you really are. You learn to lean into your strengths while compassionately working with your shadows. You gain language for your truth and release the shame of being different. Comparison kills clarity, but archetypes bring it back. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to reclaim your identity, not as an addict, not as a failure, not as a label or a diagnosis, but as a healer in process. Someone who isn't broken, just awakening, just evolving, just becoming. Your next step, Archetype Activation Challenge. Now that you've explored the 4 archetypes of strategic recovery, it's time to take this from information to transformation. Because insight without action, it's just another idea collecting dust. So here's your challenge, your invitation to go deeper into who you truly are. 1. Identify your archetype. Which archetype resonated most with you? Was there one that felt like looking in a mirror? Or maybe 2 that tugged at something deep? Don't overthink it. Trust your body's reaction. The one that made you say, "Oh, that's me." 2. Journal prompt. How has this archetypal pattern shown up in my life and in my addiction? Take 5 to 10 minutes to reflect on this. Look at your habits, your triggers, your strengths, and your wounds through the lens of your archetype. This is where awareness becomes insight. And 3, reflect plus recommit. What does my archetype need most from me right now? Not someday, not when life is perfect, but today. Does the seeker need grounding and presence? Does the empath need boundaries and rest? Does the achiever need stillness and self-worth beyond success? Does the thinker need embodiment and emotional risk? Let this be a mini realignment moment. Come back to yourself. Not who you're supposed to be, but who you actually are. Bonus, take the free archetype quiz. Want more clarity and a personalized roadmap? Take the free 4 archetypes quiz at getstrategicrecovery.com. You'll discover your dominant archetype, your healing blueprint, and specific tools and practices to match your nervous system, your energy, and your soul. You don't need to become someone else to recover. You just need to become more of who you already are, with strategy, spirit, and self-compassion. Let the journey continue. Know yourself, heal yourself. Your healing is not random. It's not a fluke. It's not a shot in the dark. It's written in your story. It's encoded in your nervous system. It's revealed through your archetype, through the very design of your personality, your patterns, and your purpose. Once you understand how you're wired, you stop fighting yourself. You stop trying to become someone you're not, and you start flowing with your own nature. Because alignment heals what force cannot. This episode wasn't just about personality. It was about permission to walk your own path, to honor your own rhythm, to recover in a way that feels like home. Freedom begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. And we're just getting started. Coming up next, in the next episode of Strategic Recovery, we'll break down the 5 phases of strategic recovery, from preparation to detox, from stabilization to rewiring, and all the way to transcendence. This is the full map, the soul-infused strategy, the system that will help you know exactly where you are and what's next. You won't want to miss it. Until then, keep going, keep learning who you really are, and keep trusting that your path is unfolding perfectly. Because this is the way of strategic recovery, and this is the path to lasting freedom. If you're loving this podcast and want to go deeper, check out my complete upcoming recovery system, the Strategic Recovery Code. Crack the code with a proven 5-pillar system to help you heal addiction from the inside out, using strategy, science, and soul. You'll learn how to repair your brain, rewire your habits, reconnect with your purpose, and create a life that actually feels good to live, without shame, fear, or white-knuckling. This isn't just recovery, it's transformation. Visit getstrategicrecovery.com to learn more and begin your journey. And if you really enjoyed this episode, I've got a few quick favors to ask that really help spread the mission of strategic recovery. First, make sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss a new episode. Second, if you're on Apple or Spotify, leave a quick rating and review. It helps more than you know. Third, head over to getstrategicrecovery.com to join the email list and access free tools, trainings, and exclusive resources. And finally, if you know someone who's stuck in addiction or recovery burnout, share this episode with them. You might be the spark that changes everything.